Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I am TheSaffronMan and this is Red versus Red. Two Manchester United fans from across the world talking about the club that we love. But man, sometimes it's a hard love and they really do make it challenging for us. But I'm here with Sporadiclese as well. How you doing, man? We've just watched United get absolutely demoralised and distraughtly beaten 3-0 at home. Like, how are you feeling at the moment?
I mean, look, it sucks because I'm not even mad at this point. I'm just frustrated. I'm so frustrated, and I think a lot of the other fans are just frustrated right now. And yeah, so without giving too much away, that's kind of how I'm feeling right now.
Yeah, it's tough. I think there's a whole mix of emotions. But first of all, before we kind of get into all of that, I'll say thank you very much to Mike Miles who hit the sub button on the YouTube. So thank you very much. We're now up to 8. So make sure you hit the sub, make sure you follow, and make sure you hit that like as well and share that love. But there was no really love lost in this game. Let's get straight on into it, man. It was you weren't far off with your prediction from the other night. Just Xerxes was the change where you picked Hoyland to start. I think there was nothing wrong with the 11 that kind of started, but it just knew from the off that something wasn't right. I mean, Tottenham scored within 2 minutes, but there was a couple of danger signs even before that. It was just such a horrific start. We never really got going, and it was painful. Like the amount of times we lost the ball, we just weren't confident. We looked afraid. It just all the emotions that could be negative towards the team, and that fed into the crowd as well. And the crowd were really not as supportive as they could be because they were showing their frustrations as well because of what they were seeing was just like they're in disbelief of what they were seeing. Just break it down, man. Like it just wasn't a good start for first off, right?
Yeah. I mean, there just seems to be like an air of complacency and a lack of energy, today. And I think right off the bat, within the third minute, Marcus Rashford, like, okay, well, he's going to lose the ball. Nobody reacts to that. Ugarte, who, very much is supposed to be the person that comes in and shuts down those marauding runs. It's on the side that he was playing in. He was very slow to react to that. And so it kind of left all of the defenders, defenseless, so to speak, against that because they already had, men to mark. And so it really, it really just showed the lack of cohesion that we had as a unit in terms of what people's roles and responsibilities are,
Mm-hmm.
as well as just a general lethargy, in pretty much all of our players. There was nobody that today that I noticed that looked like they had, especially in the first half, that really brought the energy and the excitement and the will to play today. I mean, what are your thoughts there? Did it look like anybody was raring and ready to go for this match?
I think we lost our heads in the middle of that match. Like, in terms of raring to go, I think it's hard to put it down to the midfield. That's the first time that Kobe and Ugarte, or Uarte is what his name is apparently, that have played together, and it's going to take time for that partnership to form. But there were so many mistakes. Today was the worst game I've seen Diogo Dalot play for a long time. He was outclassed, he was outpaced, he was outmatched. The first goal that they scored, he didn't track back, and as soon as they scored from that goal, he held his hand up in acknowledgement that he didn't track back. And then he got booked, he did a rugby tackle, he didn't really do anything going forward, his passing, it was just a really bad day at the office for Diogo Dalot. And as fantastic as Mazraoui has been, and he had a super solid game, but the goal did come from the massive gap between him and De Ligt at the right back where whoever it was able to charge through and get that cross in the first place. So there's work to be. Look, Mazraoui had a fantastic game like he always has done, but he's not vulnerable to any criticism, and that gap was just like you could have got the Titanic through there, and the Titanic did get through there, and we ended up conceding a couple of goals, 3 goals in total, but there's work that needs to be done. Martinez lost his head a couple of times, probably could have got sent off right in the course of the match. I think De Ligt had an okay game, but it wasn't. I don't want to talk about Onana, but the defence as a whole were working hard today, and they showed some leaks that need to be sorted out. I mean, you've been calling the lineups Sporadiclese. You've been seeing the defences. The defence has majorly been the same. That is our main back four until other people are fit and in contention. How do you think the defence did today?
I mean, it's in games like this, it's really tough to kind of say it was the defense or it was the midfield not doing the protecting of the defense. I think it was a little bit of both today. I think that positionally, people looked a bit out of sorts. I think it was for the second goal right at the start of the second half that Martinez is coming in to try and win the ball up the pitch and just makes a strange attempt at a tackle that really put us in a pickle, and just giving away too many opportunities and just out of place. I felt like De Ligt was out of place a few times. To your point, Diogo Dalot didn't really have a good game. I think there's some things that you could say about the ability to protect that back line, and I think that Ugarte, in particular, in the first goal, he should have reacted sooner to that run, and he didn't. And so that puts both Mazraoui and De Ligt in a very precarious position. And so, I mean, it was just errors abound today. It seems like we have games where we look like we understand what we're doing as a team against the much lesser teams, and I think that we're winning and performing well against a lot of those teams. But the second you come up against a team that's really pushing and playing a high line, trying to win the ball back, and has a lot of attacking prowess, we've just crumbled, and we've crumbled more than once this season. This is out of the last 20 games that we played at home, we've lost 8. That's 40% of the games that we played at Old Trafford in recent memory that have been losses, and that's just unacceptable for.
I don't think it's even about the losses, man. It's just that they didn't turn up. It was the way that we lost today. Like, even though we went down to 10 men, we had opportunities to score. We've been saying all season we've been creating opportunities, but we're not scoring. We didn't score again. But it wasn't even that. It was the transition to once we won the ball back in defence. Literally, the camera would change to a different angle, and we had already lost the ball. And there were times we were losing the ball 3 or 4 times, and Tottenham just kept on coming. We were so careless in possession of the ball today, and no pass was perfect. It was either a leg's length too long or it was too short. No pass was perfect today, except Rashford's when he set up Garnacho for the volley, and it was just honestly the only pass that went well. So you're right, we may have lost 8 out of the 20 games or whatever, but none of them were like this. Like we've lost against we've had some really heavy losses, but this just was a capitulation. And Bruno Fernandes, this was the precipice of everything that's not been right with Bruno Fernandes so far this season. Whether it was a red card or not, he didn't really have much of the say in the game when he was on the pitch, and we probably had the better of the chances when he was off the pitch and down a man. So whatever is happening with Bruno Fernandes, he is not making that positive impact that he has been since he's joined the club. Do you agree? And if so, why? Why is that happening, man?
Yeah, I mean, it was strange, to feel like we didn't really start playing the match until we were down a man and 2 goals down. And then we had a 10-15 minute spell where we looked really good. We were on the front foot. We were pressing the issue.
15 minutes might be a stretch.
And we were creating opportunities.
Let's go with 10. And really good might be a stretch. Maybe it was all right.
Sure, but again, it looked like we woke up there for a little bit. But at this level, you can't wake up. You have to come into the match focused, alert, prepared, and we were none of those things. It was just like everybody just seemed tired, and I get that because we've been playing a lot of these players almost every single week. We're tired. We don't have the energy anymore, and until we have the depth that we truly trust and can rotate, it's gonna be an
But
issue.
we have
And
been
yeah,
rotating. Like, literally the last
we
2-3 weeks with the Cup game and Europa League and the League, like, Rashford scored a few goals and then he's been dropped. Kobe Mainoo's just had a game's rest. De Ligt's been rested up to this point. And the only people that have been fully in or out is either been Mazraoui or Delo and Onana. But I think everyone else pretty much has had some sort of rotation this season already. The wingers definitely are. I mean, thankfully, Anthony's on full rotation, so there's always that. But I mean, I think we have had rotation. And so, as tired as what they would have been in previous years, I don't think we can put that down as a factor today. You know?
Well, there was still no energy that was brought by anybody. To your point, the at the start of the match, it just looked like our we hadn't even started to show up yet. Poor passes galore. We were trying to play out of the back and to absolutely no effect. Any time that I don't even think that we really had a whole lot in terms of counterattacking opportunities that would have given us a little bit of even just a small reprieve from playing defense. I mean, we were shoved into our own defensive third for a majority of that first half.
Oh, those counter-attacks were there. There were opportunity. But again, it's the pass. Like, we weren't... we were skipping out the midfield for whatever reason, and when we did get to the midfield, Xerxes' touch was a bit off today, so his link-ups weren't going well. So it looks like if we've got both Bruno and Xerxes on the pitch and neither of them are linking up play, something's going wrong there. But yeah, Xerxes didn't have the best of matches in link-up play. He had 1 or 2 half chances, 1 half chance that was on target, but it was at a weird angle coming at him quick, so it was really tough for him today. But yeah, I don't know. It was like we were just going long all the time, and obviously the variety of difficulty for those long passes to be connected each and every time is so tough, and we just weren't there. We were a few percent off all over the game.
I don't have any issue with going, just being a bit more direct. I think Marcus Rashford, though, whenever you look at his body language after having multiple balls getting played to him that are very low quality, that are out of his reach, or not into the spaces that he's running into, he was understandably frustrated. There were 3, 4, 5 balls.
We're frustrated. The fans, this whole stadium was frustrated.
Yeah, and so at some point his head and his shoulders just dropped. Like, am I ever going to get a decent ball played in so that I can attack it? And I feel for him today because he could have had a really good game, but the service just was not there.
Yeah, and he was actually one of the better performers today. I mean, not many people probably got a 6 or above, but I think he was definitely one of the people. He put on some great service for some players who just didn't quite come off. It wasn't his fault that we lost today. We had other issues across the pitch. Did he play amazing? Did he get a ripper in the top corner? No. But he wasn't at fault. He did put on the service, which we didn't put on the end of. He was making us positive runs, trying to be the outlet for us. But again, the service just wasn't there. And that just, again, I don't want to put any blame on a midfield because it's Uate's first Premier League start. Kobe Mainoo's a young kid. It's the first time pairing together. But there were at times where they were both on like the upper left-hand side of the pitch. And so the whole right-hand side was just open of the midfield.
Exposed, yeah.
It's going to take time for those to... But they both, as a unit and as individuals, didn't have a great game today. But I mean, Kobe Mainoo had to come off in the 42nd minute anyway because he got injured the same time Bruno Fernandes got sent off. So I hope that Kobe Mainoo isn't injured like long term. He described it to Casemiro as he came off, and it didn't look good.
Yeah.
He didn't look happy. So I hope that he's not going to be on the sidelines for long. But I mean, yeah, the midfield in general just didn't work today for whatever reason. I don't think it's through lack of effort. Uarte was putting his foot in, making those challenges, and I'd love to see that. I'm surprised
but, I mean,
he didn't get sent off too. But
the story of Manchester United in the past few years has been where the heck is the midfield?
Right.
I feel like we have Bruno who normally has been a pretty consistent performer, not done it so far this season. Uarte just now getting in. It's going to take some time. Like it's wild to see just how big of a difference it makes to just insert one new face into a setup like this.
Yeah.
Because to your point, I mean, he and Kobe just were not on the same page today, and that's a relationship that's going to be vital to our long-term success. And obviously, again, their first game playing together, but they definitely need to have a better understanding of each other in order for the engine room to really start getting up and running.
Yeah, I don't know what the answer is though. I mean, Eriksen's been playing well, but we can't play him every game. When he came on, he looked bright, he looked promising, but I don't know what the answer is.
Minus set pieces. His delivery on set pieces was not as good as I'd hoped. At least not the first few.
You can say that about every midfielder over the last 12 years, though. Like, since Beckham left, really, we haven't really replaced set pieces. We've had Antonio Valencia take a few, and a few midfielders here, or Bruno can obviously take, but we haven't had a set piece specialist in a long time. I think Rooney was the last free kick that I've seen a Man United player score in a long time, and that was in a Legends match. I literally can't remember the last time we scored from a free kick. And we're missing something. We need that technician that can be deadly, because that's a whole new outlet which we haven't had in a long time. So that will definitely help, but I don't know what the answer is to our midfield right now. Let's go on to the Bruno red card. Was that a red card for you?
I mean, absolutely not. It's very obvious that he slipped. Now look, the challenge itself, it was going to be a lazy challenge. You saw him coming in. It was going to be a bit late. It didn't really look like he was in the right headspace to be able to be making that challenge. But then he slips, right? And then you see, the studs are up. It's kind of high, but he's doing everything that he can to get the studs away from James Maddison to not clip him or not foul him. And I mean, in terms of a red card, like, you would want to see, or you would think that, like, it's ferocity, velocity, impact, height of the challenge, and you have to have a couple out of those, and really the only thing was the height. You could tell that once he slipped, he realized what was going on, and he tried to pull out of the challenge as much as he could. And so for that to go to VAR and then to still say, yes, that's a red card, that's just baffling. Obviously not a great challenge, but that should be a yellow card. Because most of what happened that was bad in that challenge was not Bruno's fault. He was not at fault for the slip itself. I think it's difficult to justify that being a red card.
I mean, like, he was so late. The ball wasn't even in the picture of the frame. Like, he went in for the tackle, and yes, he slipped, but he was still going in for the tackle. If anything, he probably came out of the tackle with less power because of the slip. But I don't think the slip is anything. He was going into it. He was pissed off. He was in a lazy moment. He wanted the tackle, he wanted the contact. It was never a red, but you can't get it was a lazy tackle, but you can't get sent off for a lazy tackle. It wasn't dangerous. There was no foul play, like serious foul play, bad sportsmanship or anything like that. It was a cynical yellow card tackle, and why VAR can't change that, I don't know. Now look, we were getting our asses worked at the time anyway, right? I'm not to say that that decision would have changed anything because we weren't looking good. But that decision robbed Eric Ten Hag the opportunity for a team talk to galvanise, to make changes, to make it a game of two halves and go for an even contest. Like, that decision is quite unfair because Ten Hag's going to get all the blame now. Like, and maybe rightly so or whatever, but everyone's going to call it a Ten Hag because the referee made a harsh decision which robbed us of the opportunities to make changes in the second half and put on a show for the crowd or whatever. So,
Ten Hag definitely has his fair share of blame for this match, and I think really what it boils down to is every single match that we play, we come out so slow and sluggish, and we don't look good for the first few minutes unless we're playing, like a Barnsley, in which case, okay,
but that's not Ten Hag's fault. But I mean, in the match day program, they mentioned and his quote was, "We want 100% in big bold writing." Like, he's trying to motivate, he's saying the right things, but mate, it's just he's put out the team which you agreed on, which I agreed on, which other people agreed on. It's not like he's picking an 11 which people don't agree with, but whatever reason, we've got Rude in the background, we've got Rene Harker, we've got a brand new whole system in place, we've got a new stadium being talked about, there's positive, but the players, for whatever reason, they're just not tired, and I can't blame Ten Hag for this. Like, I can't. Even though everyone's calling off,
not responsible for team morale and to get them really galvanized and going. Like, it's great to say, "Oh, I'm looking for 100% all that I want," and it doesn't matter if you're not giving them the right tools to succeed and motivating them to be at 100% from the off.
Yeah, but that's not. He can only do so. The players then have to go and do that. They have to produce that. They're the ones being paid. They're the ones that want all these contracts and sponsorships, and they want bonuses and everything else. Like, they're the ones that go into training looking to improve themselves. They have to take responsibility. If they've been selected, those 11 players, as individuals and as a collective, have to take responsibility of wearing the shirt of Manchester United and performing to a level. That's not down to the manager. Yes, the manager wants to get the best results and the best out of their players at all times, but the responsibility of actually turning up and giving 100% is in the contract that you sign. And so you should get that as a given, right? And if the players aren't given that, that's down on them. That's not down on Eric Ten Hag. He can only do so much. They still have to go and outperform on the pitch, right?
Sure, but I mean, what happens whenever they don't? And again, we put out our best 11 today, and it wasn't anywhere near good enough. They didn't look good. It's not like you can just rotate that whole team and say, okay, well, this is you can't bench everyone.
No, right. But my point is, when you sign a contract for Manchester United, you sign on to give 110% effort at all times, but they didn't give that. So why is Ten Hag to blame for that if they didn't give what they signed up for? I
mean, look. At the end of the day, you can't just say, "Oh, well, it's all on the players." Ten Hag does have some responsibility to keep them motivated and keep them firing and on the front foot. And I don't know that he's done that. He's gone into the media and talked, a little bit. He's talked poorly about any number of these players and the team as a whole. And, if that's not working, then, it seems like, the heads drop a little bit further in each and every week. And it seems, they might feel like they're not getting the backing from their manager, regardless of whether or not their name is on the team sheet. So, maybe something does need to change in terms of his approach towards getting the most out of his players. You can't have a rotten apple up top and expect all of the ones underneath them to be just fine. We've seen that with the upper management of our club over the course of the last, 14 years or so. We have poor management up top, and it trickles down into the rest of the team. So if you look at all of the performances that we've been stringing together, and we can't beat FC Twente, we can't beat Crystal Palace, we whoop the crap out of Barnsley, we only beat Fulham 1-0, we get smashed against Tottenham and Liverpool. At what point is it Is it at what point can you say it's not the manager, it's just the players?
No. I mean, no one's. We've been saying that there's issues with players, and look, there's issues from top to bottom at Manchester United. They're trying to rebuild that, as we know. But again, I just the players have to take responsibility of their own actions. If I was to go and play in a match or whatever, and I've let in 10 goals, like that's kind of down on me as performing badly, not the manager for picking me. I mean, it's just the players just need to step up and take responsibility. And there were too many players that had bad games today. Xerxes had a bad game. Bruno had a bad game. Ugarte had a bad game. Mainu had a bad game. Delo had a bad game. You can't win matches when 6 of your first 11 team have a bad game. So again, I think it's down on the players. I know Ten Hag's going to get a lot of stick, a lot of focus is going to go on him. People are angry. I get it, but man, this is the players' fault today, and the players have got managers sacked at Manchester United before. Was it purposeful that they dropped their handbags and said, "Yeah, we're not going to play"? I mean, it was crazy. When Mount came on, he got booked within like 2 minutes. So he was kind of. So we lost our heads. Numerous players. Hopefully they took it out. I'd rather they all get sent off, quite frankly, and just. So they all took it out on the pitch. You know, you kind of like those panic rooms where you can go into a room and you can just destroy everything. That TV, destroy it. I'm going to destroy it. I wish they did that to the Tottenham players on the pitch and just treat it like a panic room, create an all-out brawl, get a couple of fines and suspensions, but it's out there. Whatever it was out. Like, we could all see how I wish that was a possibility, because I think they all need a panic room of some kind. Something that's going to allow them to just vent everything out, actually get physically angry and start punching. Maybe they should all have a charity Royal Rumble boxing match or something. I don't know. They should get Rooney involved in that. That would be great. But yeah,
I mean, we're already getting concussions with Mason Mount today. We don't need any more of those. Kobe Mainoo's injured too. He had to come off, to your point. So, and Bruno, he's with his red card. He's out for the next 3 matches.
No, it's only if that was a malicious tackle. It gets to 3. It'll probably just be the 2, and it might even get rescinded down to the 1, because they can't review yellow cards, but red cards they can review. So maybe they'll just put it down to 1 game and say, yeah, you shouldn't have got sent off, but it's happened, but we will reduce it from 2 games down to 1, and maybe that'll be a thing if common sense prevails.
Well, that's still Aston Villa. That's no walk in the park. So
they're on form at the moment as well, aren't they? So, all right. Well, to kind of summarise, we lost 3-0. I mean, it was over at half-time, quite frankly. If it wasn't then, it was over just after half-time when Tottenham grabbed the second pretty much straight away. Actually, a well-taken strike. I wish our strikers had the mobility to kind of score goals like that, but it wasn't to be. Absolutely, really depressing, and it was probably the worst 45 minutes I remember watching Manchester United in recent history. That's kind of how bad it was. Like, we gave the ball away. It was so unlike us. It's like ripping my hair out. Like, what is actually happening? What was what was you feeling like watching that live, like reacting to it happen? Because I couldn't believe it. I was like, what is actually happening? What are they doing? It was such a weird feeling that I had watching that today.
Yeah, I mean, I can't tell you how many times I threw my hands in the air, just out of pure frustration. I thought that we surprisingly still had a couple of opportunities to get a couple back. Just didn't take them, and Rashford playing that ball to Garnacho, I thought he could have been very, very good for that goal. Unfortunately, he hit the wrong side of the post, and it also looked like their goalie might have had it covered too. So
he was never getting it. He was like 6 foot behind the line as it hit the post. He was never getting it. It was too fast.
Sure, but and Xerxes had an opportunity as well. There were any number of opportunities that I felt like we had. It's just back to the issue that we've been having all season of we're creating chances and not finishing them.
Yeah.
And if you're not finishing your chances, then you have to be putting in a shift on defense, and we didn't do that today. So, just all around, just a very frustrating match. Obviously, from the off, to your point, they scored within 3 minutes, but it looked like they could have been on the score sheet even faster. Like we were just outplayed. We were out hustled. We were out muscled, and just a really tough day altogether. I
Yeah,
think Onana had an okay game. I think he made a couple of decent saves. It could have been much worse, and we definitely had to call on him multiple times this game just to keep it from getting really ugly.
no, yeah, he made a couple of saves, but then their strikers obviously missed the time they hit the post, and it was just wide. That bicycle kick went just wide, and that wasn't covered. It wasn't a good performance from everyone. And yeah, he made a save or two, but he should have saved a second goal, in my opinion. Even though he got a glove to it, and it still kind of went in. So from that distance, like any fingertip you get, you have to push it up, or you have to stop the power. Like it wasn't the most powerful strikes. I,
Yeah.
I was disappointed again. It wasn't the best game,
That's
but
definitely the one that I could point to and say Onana probably should have done better. But I mean, the other two, I don't think that there was any real fault to be had on his part on those. But again, it could have been much worse. Nobody did us any favors on our own team today.
no
Really,
one
is
stood
what
up.
it boils down
We,
to.
like, we needed someone like Onana to have an absolutely storming game to kind of give us some sort of confidence, but no one kind of stepped up to give us that confidence. We were building around a foundation of quicksand today, and we had people that lost their heads at numerous times. So yeah, again, I wish they kind of let it all go on the pitch, and then it was just done. But I think this is going to brew on now, and I think the haters out there are going to be calling for people to lose their jobs, and I just don't think we're at that stage. But we'll see. But it's not us to have to make these decisions, though. Sporadiclese. This man up top who bought the club 7, 8 months ago. Damn, it might be 9 months ago now.
Well, bought interest in, not the full thing.
Well, yeah. But he's the one calling all the shots in terms of the stadium development, in
Yep.
terms of
Yep.
Carrington training ground, the signings, both the youth academy and the first team.
He's the operations head, basically.
He's calling all of the shots, including after the FA Cup final, going to talk to other managers, and then still sticking with Ten Hag. So that was. So, what's he going through at the moment, man? Like it's he's come through and dealt with a lot of pressure to call for Ten Hag and for other things to happen around the club, and he's shown actual a tough resilience thus far. Do you think we're going to continue to see that resilience, because if they were to sack him now, their actions of the summer are going to look really stupid. Actually, yeah, we looked around, we didn't see anyone that we liked. We think Eric Ten Hag's the guy for us. 3 months later, oh yeah, he's not the right guy for us. I don't think they're going to be doing that.
Yeah, I mean, you can look at it and say, we didn't see anyone that we liked. You can also look at it from there were probably not a lot of managers that were rared and ready to go to take on, the Manchester United that we've had with new ownership in a major rebuild that we've been in for years. I mean, for Sir Jim, I mean, he's got to be scratching his head. Like, what even are the options, right? I don't think that there's going to be a whole lot of options in terms of coaches out there that are looking at this and not seeing the house on fire, so that they're even willing to come in and try and right the ship. I think that we've done a lot of good in terms of recruiting young, but we're also recruiting just a lot of specialists, in my opinion. And so we're seeing a lot of issues in terms of just general footballing ability or knowledge that just isn't there at this point in time. You look back on all of the successful United teams of the past, and they all had cohesion and understanding, good knowledge of where other people are going to be, how to exploit space, ability to make passes. Now, some people were, obviously better at some of those things, but you look around at this team and like, okay, well, we're making passes because we're anticipating, other players to do things that they're not doing. And, there's just a complete and total lack of understanding and, I feel like just general abilities to, pick your head up and look for where other people are going. And, I can't tell you how many times we've tried to play the ball into feet to our wingers whenever they're running up the sidelines. It's like, how much of it is players, how much of it is Ten Hag, how much of it, I don't think that we can really make a statement in terms of, how Ineos is doing at the moment, but he's got to be scratching his head thinking, okay, well, if Ten Hag's not working out by, Christmas, what do we even do here? There just doesn't seem to be a lot of options for him.
No, anyone who wants Ten Hag sacked, like I would say, who are you going to bring in? And I see some people reacting on some channels already, like Pochettino. Pochettino's at the US men's team; he's not going anywhere. So, and there's a couple out there, but no one kind of sticks out. Literally, we've got other issues to fix. I don't think Ten Hag is the problem. We have a mentality problem at Manchester United, and we've had that for like the last 10, 12 years, ever since Fergie left. We haven't. So, yeah, as much as people would like to blame Ten Hag for the players' performance on the pitch, I would suggest that Jim Ratcliffe is to blame, even more so, because Ten Hag is the leader of he's the manager of the club and everything else, but he's the owner. He's the one calling the shots, is Jim. So I think Jim definitely has to take some responsibility, especially since he had the chance to sack Erik ten Hag during the summer and decided to keep him. So he needs to come out and actually take responsibility. So look, this is our guy. This is what's going on. This, that, and the other. What I'm trying to say is I think it's unfair that Erik ten Hag is being the magnet for all of this, when there's so many people that deserve some of the blame for our poor performances, not just today, but in previous matches and previous seasons. Like, it's not just one individual or two individuals. It's just our club hasn't been right for such a long time. But people are talking positively about the club, like especially during the summer. There was a positive vibe. Players coming in, staff were coming in. Like, we're talking about a new stadium, a new world of Manchester, and all this sorts. Like, we haven't had that in such a long time. So I think performances sucking. But I don't know, Jim's got a lot to answer for at the moment. I think Omar Barada's come out and said that he wants to win the Premier League by 2028. That's only like 3.5 years away. So we need to keep that mentality of winning silverware going up until then and actually put on a show. But maybe this year is just like... obviously, we want to get as high up the Premier League as we can. But maybe this year is just like, right, who wants to play for the shirt? Does Marcus Rashford really want to be here? Even though Bruno's just signed a new contract, does he really want to commit to winning things at Manchester United? Does Højlund want to stay here when he's only getting bit part games and not so many goals anymore? And does Garnacho...
He's still coming back from injury, so I wouldn't pick out Højlund.
But no, but these I'm just trying to name, like, at some point over this season we're going to find out who the players really are and if they want to be a Manchester United player or not. I mean, I don't know how long Garnacho wants to stay waiting. Does Delot want to keep being played out of position and then taking the slack for having a bad game? Like, does Onana want to keep going? There's so much going on that Jim needs to fix in the next 12 months. This January, we need to sell a few players. We will. We're going to need to sell a few. Whether it be Eriksen or Maguire or Lindelof, we need to sell a few more to get a bit of money on the books in order for us to buy big again in January. So maybe people like Rashford are on... I don't know, we mentioned last year, Rashford's got one more season to kind of prove it to himself. I think this is it, and it's not going well for him at the moment, right?
Yeah, and I mean, well, and I don't think that you can sell Rashford without having a replacement, right? Because that would put us down to basically 3 wingers.
They have a replacement already. There's been articles that Manchester United are looking to put the buyout clause of Nico Williams, whether he will come to us or not, but there are options out there, and Nico Williams is a good one. And with the price you would get for Marcus, you would imagine that it would cover the majority of the release clause. So yeah, I'm not saying it's a given, Sporadiclese, but there are options out there, and there are rumours of that happening. So
sure, but I mean, we also need a left back. I think that left back is something that we desperately need because. Again, Luke Shaw, he can't even stay fit for us. He goes out and he plays for England, and then he comes back injured for another 2 months, and then in the process of him building back up to fitness, he injures himself again, and now it's going to be until after the next international break. Like Luke Shaw at this point needs to go. Tyrell Malacia, we don't even know what's going to happen with him. At this point, I don't even know what he looks like as a player because he's really, we haven't seen him play in so long. So left back is something that we need because at this point, we really can't even afford to rotate Mazraoui or Dallo. So yeah, Sir Jim has a lot of things that he's got to consider in terms of how are we going to turn this ship around. But it's going to have to start with the players. To your point, some of them just don't look like like they really want to be here at times, and so we're gonna need some performances out of them to really convince at least me in particular that some of these guys really want to be out there and deserve to be out there and playing for us week in, week out.
So Tyrell Malassia's got cornrows now. He's got new tattoos on his elbows. And he is actually in training, but I agree with everything that you said. But you knew this problem with the left back, and I knew this problem with the left back, and Jim knew this problem with the left back during the summer, right? We knew that this was happening, but we were just all out of funds. We put so much into what we got. We were min-maxing our whole finances the whole time, and apparently we're still like 300 million down. Well, I have to find it, but anyway. So we knew that's going. We made an active decision to try and at least get us towards January. Luke Shaw has until January. I think Malassia's got a little bit longer because I don't think his value is anything. We could probably get 20-ish million for Luke Shaw if we wanted to. I think that's a fair price considering his injury record, but if he was to get a bit of form from now till then, that could double to 40, no problem, because on his day, he's one of the best left backs going. So there's a bit of a price there, but I don't think that's him right now, but there is no real price of Tyrell Malacia. Would have to give him away, so I think we'd have to literally keep hold of him to try and build him up to a bit of value. Just give him at least a chance. We don't know the extent of the injury, but basically we knew this problem, and they said we'll try and wait till January to solve that problem. So fair play. So yeah, Delo's going to keep going there. Harry Amass has just disappeared off the planet. He's playing for the under-21s, but I would have thought he'd got some minutes now in the first team by now. So it's a bit disappointing, but yeah, we can only do so much in one summer. January's going to be important to get rid of a few more, I think. Some people are like saying Real Madrid and Barcelona are interested in Greenwood. I mean, if anyone wants to pay 120 million for Mason Greenwood, that would be great. Thank you very much, because we would get half of that. So that would be awesome. But this Jim's got a big. Well, I'd say 12 months. Honestly, the next 12 months. When we're in this position this time next year, 6 games into the Premier League, did we win anything this season or last season? I think the next 12 months are going to be so important in terms of outgoings and incomings. Even though you and I, we've seen the youth coming through, and Omar Barada's evaluate that. So yeah, 2028 is where we aim to start winning things. And I agree. I think that's a fantastic prediction and a projection of where we should be by that time with all the youngsters that we've got coming in. But no, everyone's impatient. People want to see it, but the next 12 months to set up that projection is going to be very important, because it's a good start this summer, but there's still so much more to do. I just think everyone needs the time in order to do that, right?
Yeah, it's obvious to me at least that it's not going to happen with, we're not going to have everything squared away in 12 months. And even if we do, we're still not going to be challenging for the title in 12 months, starting in 12 months' time. He does have a lot of work to do, but, I think Ralph Ragnick really had it right. This is a team that basically needs open heart surgery. And I think that we've cracked open the chest cavity at this point.
Yeah.
But we're still waiting to really get messy with the scalpel. So it's going to take time, and it's going to take tough decisions, and the decisions that he makes is going to be extremely impactful for over the next 12 months. But he's going to have to be the one to make them, and I think at some point we are going to have to ask a few more questions of the players, because it's just not enough right now. I don't want to put it on anybody that we brought in in the last season or two, because like, how can you put blame on Kobe Mainu? He's still very much developing. He's still trying to become that top-notch player that we need him to be. Garnacho's still young. I think he's had a lot of good performances for us, but he's still not hit his peak. But he's going to need other players in the right places to be able to really hit his peak. And so I also don't know that you can say, oh, well, Delict and Mazraoui and Xerxes, like all of these players, yes, they are going to be obviously a part of it, but like they're still even just learning the system that we're trying to play. And I don't know at what point you really start blaming the system, because we have had structural deficiencies, so to speak, that I think are kind of related to the system that we're playing, in addition to the lack of willingness to go out there and put yourself on the line and put your body on the line to eke out some of these wins. So just so much needs to change, and I think it starts, to your point, with Sir Jim, and what he's going to be able to do over the next 12 months.
Yeah, I think in general, overall, I think Manchester United fans have been protecting people like Kobe Mainu and not blaming people like him. I think we're focusing on Casemiro, who's old enough and done everything enough to know better, like especially against Liverpool. And today when he came on, and it was awful. Just so frustrating to watch. And Marcus Rashford, because you can't go from a 30-goal season to an 8-goal season and expect everyone to be happy, especially when we've had our worst performance in the league ever. So some people are having to go out and on. Goalkeeping is a very tough decision. You're going to get pretty much scrutinised no matter what you do anyway, because it's such a vital position. If a goalkeeper makes a mistake, it's a goal. If a midfielder makes a mistake, then you've got defence and a goalkeeper to try and mix it. So it's tough. I understand. I think in general we are focusing on players that can or should be able to take the criticism. Bruno's taken a fair bit, and he can and should be taking a fair bit of criticism at the moment, but he knows that in of himself, as does Rashford, and Casemiro should know better. I don't know what Casemiro is in Wonderland until Saudi Arabia pay for his transfer fee. He's just I don't get his mentality. He doesn't care. He doesn't want to show up or do anything. I don't know. He's done, but I think that's just a Jim solution for another time. But anything else to add on that absolute drubbing by Tottenham, Sporadiclese, or should we move on to some for or against?
Oh man, I could go on at length for the next 3 hours on just this performance.
I do charge by the hour.
Yeah, that's news to me.
Yeah, therapist coming at you.
Well, hopefully it's not me that you're charging for that, but we could probably move on, just because again I can sit here and talk about each and every one of the moments of this match and all of these players.
It's a bad day at the office when the opposition support are singing "Shall We Sing You a Song," and so it was just one of them days. Shall we sing a song for you? And they were just singing that for like half an hour, and that was really frustrating. But really bad day at the office. We're going to move on to some for or against. We've done our match reaction to Tottenham versus Manchester United after losing 3-0. We're going to move on to our show for or against. Is basically we come up with 3 statements or questions, and we take it in turns, myself and Sporadiclese, to either be for or against for the week. We have our side of the story to be told, or our opinion. And so we're going to try and come up with a middle ground for you guys to make a decision whether you're for or against after hearing both sides of the story. So without further ado, let's do some for or against. Let's do it. And that didn't work. All right, where's it gone? Video. Why did that not happen? Maybe the okay. Here we go. For or against. Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I am TheSaffronMan for RedVsRed podcast, and my friend Sporadiclese here, and we're going to be doing some for or against right here. So our first for or against of the day, Sporadiclese, is how long will Erik ten Hag last? I think you're doing against this week. I'm doing for. Would you like me to start, and so you can rebuttal my argument, or would you like to start and vice versa?
Yeah, so I mean, I guess is the time frame that we're going to put on it whoever is making the first argument?
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, we can make it work.
Sure. Go ahead and argue for, and I'll tell you why you're wrong.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine. You can do that. You can try anyway. But look, everyone's really angry today. I get it. There were boos and jeers in the crowd from like the 8th minute onwards. It wasn't pretty. But Erik ten Hag didn't put those, didn't give the ball away every time. You can only try and teach someone so much. And we talked about in the main podcast, of how blame should be placed not just on the players individually as Ten Hag, but Ruud van Nistelrooy as a coach, Rene Huck, Jim Ratcliffe, Omar Barada, James. Everyone needs to take responsibility, but everyone's also new at the same time. So we can't put blame onto people like Kobbie Mainoo because he's a new young player, but we can put blame onto people like Casemiro, Bruno Fernandes and Rashford because they've been around a little bit longer. They're professionals, they're big grown-up boys, right? So they should be able to take a little bit of criticism. And as does Ten Hag. Ten Hag has probably had the most criticism out of any manager in possibly Premier League history for the last 2.5 years since he's joined. Especially the FA Cup final, mate, every man and his dog had written him off as to be sacked, and everyone was writing articles that he's gone through a lot, and he's shown that he is resilient, and he's loyal, and he does try to get the best out of his team. Like, Sporadiclese are going to argue that the players should take probably next to no other responsibility here, but he picked the same 11 as Ten Hag did as well. So it's not like we're all coming up with different number 11s to pick from. The players didn't turn up. The players didn't do their passing. They didn't do their job that they signed up for. Ten Hag's done his job. He's done the training. He's done the speeches. He's done the tactics. He's done his pick the 11, and he's standing there on the touchline. He's done his job. It's then up to the players to perform. And they haven't, and they didn't, and it's just not working out players-wise. So how long will Erik ten Hag last? He has at least until January, because that's when other managers will become available. So at the moment, there's no one that can come in other than Ole, who I wouldn't mind, by the way, but I still wouldn't have it. Erik ten Hag's our manager until at least January, where other managers might get sacked or fired and become available. Until then, there's just no one around. So that's kind of where I'm at, Sporadiclese.
Yeah, well, and I can definitely understand that, but I think especially even with this Manchester United team, we've seen kind of an uptick in form after the manager gets fired. It happened under Ole, and we started to get a lot of performances. Out of the team, and then it can kind of die out. So I mean, if we're losing each and every game for the next month and we're down in 15th place, like, how can you continue to argue that that Erik ten Hag is going to be the right one? If we're so far down in our Europa League group that we're basically going to get knocked out unless we win every single match. Like, we do still have the backup of Ruud van Nistelrooy at the very least. And I think, yes, there is some onus that needs to obviously be put on the players, but if the system itself is not working and the players don't understand their parts in the system, that is on the manager. And I think we saw quite a bit of it today where people aren't picking out the right passes. They're not in the right positions to be able to attack while still maintaining their defensive integrity against a team that is going to press you. We lost. It seemed like we had many opportunities where we were losing the ball in either our defensive half or around midfield because people aren't making themselves available, and we're too focused on trying to build out of the back that we don't realize sometimes you just have to get the ball out of your defensive half. Sometimes you are going to have to give the ball away for the sake of not giving up an opportunity on goal. And I feel like it's been ingrained in these players. I just have to hold on to the ball, period. It doesn't matter if I give the ball away. I can't just boot the ball up the field and try and be more direct. And I think it's something that has cost us on more than one occasion. And Erik ten Hag is still, at least in some way, shape, or form, supposed to be the person that is getting the best out of his team week in, week out, building up their morale. He's responsible for putting the best 11 out, which I think he basically did today. But you can still put the best 11 out and have a bad performance because they're not in the right headspace. And it's the manager's job to get them in the right headspace, to want to play for the badge, and to be able to get the best out of them each and every week. And he's just not doing it. He's had multiple seasons to do it already, and it's just not happening. He had multiple seasons where he was the person that was deciding who's coming in, who do I want to leave. He got everything that he's wanted thus far, and we still don't look like a Premier League quality team. Postecoglou has had so much less time to be able to build a Tottenham team, and they already look like they are in a better spot than we are after over 2 years of Erik ten Hag.
But what I would say is, what's Postecoglou won? What's Mikel Arteta won? What's all these great managers that are performing well in the league? They're not winning any silverware. So even though we're playing as badly, mate, this was the worst performance I've seen in a long time. This was really bad against Spurs. But yet, we've still got 2 trophies. Like, we know how bad our club has been over the last 10 years and what's been... yes, you mentioned the manager bounce back every time we change it. That's because our foundations of a club were so poor that everyone... we needed a bounce back, a new manager, because they had a little bit more control of what we do then. We haven't had a new manager under this regime, under this, setup. It's basically been built around, not built for Ten Hag, just built around Ten Hag. And it's like Ten Hag is kind of the last piece that's still part of the furniture or whatever that you've kind of kept. But yeah, I don't know. It's he's just won 2 trophies in our worst ever. We know how bad things are. This is the worst we've ever been in a decade, 2 decades, 3 decades, and yet he's found a way. Despite everything, despite the pressure, despite the performances, despite the egos, despite the financial structures and pressures, despite all the changes going around, despite the roof leaking, he still managed to find 2 trophies in 2 seasons for us. And gosh, he's outperformed Jose Mourinho, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, Rene Hack, Louis van Gaal. He's outperformed everyone pretty much. And I think
in terms of outperforming, we won a Europa League again with Jose Mourinho, which put us into the Champions League. So, that was our last major trophy, and I would argue that that's more significant than an FA Cup.
But he gets that taken away because he slated the youngsters. You can't come out and blame the youngsters of the youth academy, and he lost so much respect. For the way he acted towards the end. He basically got himself fired. Much like Cristiano Ronaldo, he got himself fired. I don't know what it is about that kind of mentality, but they got themselves fired. Ten Hag is remaining professional throughout. And I just think,
And
that's it.
I think that Ten Hag's also had a bit of luck on his side. There were multiple games that we played in the lead up to that FA Cup final that we probably shouldn't have won. We should have lost to Coventry City, for God's sake.
But we didn't. So
That
how long
was,
will Eric Ten
but
Hag
yeah,
last?
and we
How long
fortunately
will he
didn't.
last? Stick to the question.
I mean, again, I think we're looking at December. But if he continues to lose or get draws in the Premier League, if we do not start winning in the next 4 to 6 games, I mean, we're going to place lower than 8th by the end of the season. So something's going to have to change if we continue to come up with these poor performances where we're not scoring and we're just bleeding goals.
I can't tell you how much I disagree. What do you guys think? Down below, let us know. Like, how long will Eric Ten Hag last? Are we going to wake up to the papers tomorrow morning and he's going to be all over him, or is he going to be the Christmas present to all the haters, or is he going to get his time towards January, even during the summer, even though you're all frustrated? Just how long do you think it's going to last? Be realistic perspective. I can't call this one either way, man. I honestly I believe what I said. I know you believe what you said, so I think we'll just have to kind of leave it there. Maybe we come back to it after the next two, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
All right, on to the next one then. So remember, I'm for, Sporadiclese is against. Bruno deserves to be our captain. So I went first last time, Sporadiclese. Go ahead and start this one. Why you think Bruno doesn't deserve to be our captain?
Yeah, I mean, I think in the past, we've seen instances of him getting animated and being, being the galvanizer of our team, and really kicking everybody into gear. He's basically the extension of our manager in terms of being on the field. He's the one that's supposed to know our setup the best. He's supposed to be the one that's coordinating everything and motivating the players that are not performing to the best of their abilities. And we have seen absolutely zero of that this whole season from him. I have not seen him getting excited and getting in people's faces about how they're performing, because there's been a distinct lack of performance thus far this season, and it should be on Bruno. But if Bruno's also not performing well, it makes it very difficult for him to have to look at other players and say, what are you doing? I need you to perform better. This is not the standard that we play at. If he's not playing at that standard, that's a cause for concern. And so I think that what we've been seeing all of this season is his performances just aren't there, and almost the rest of the club is kind of feeding off of that energy. There's a lot of changes that have been made in terms of our starting 11 this season, and it's not glued, it's not meshed together, and he kind of has to be the person that's going to bring all of those pieces into play whenever we're actually on the pitch, and it's just not happening. He's not getting. Sometimes we've seen him in the past being yellow carded for having, animated conversations with the refs because he doesn't feel that we're getting, treated fairly. And, at this point we're not even putting ourselves in the positions for him to even feel the need, or he has something that he can really argue for. I think you got to look at it and say, your performances are lacking. It's bleeding into the play of the rest of the other players, and we need more from you. And if you're not going to continue to hold yourself to the standard that you've been at over the last couple of years, then do we need another captain? And I think, it's a question that needs to be asked at this point. Just I see his head down almost as much as I see Rashford's head down anymore, and that's a cause for concern for me.
They're two completely different players. I mean, so I would say to you, the reason why I wouldn't sack Ten Hag is because there is no other option. And the reason why Bruno's our captain is not only because 2 or 3 other people turned down the opportunity to be our captain beforehand, but there is no other option in order for Bruno to be captain. And plus, he is a leader on the pitch and off the pitch, and how he carries himself. Yes, he hasn't had the best start of the season, but take into consideration the last 5 years, he's been like pretty much a MVP for the last 5 years. He's everything good about Manchester United within that dreadful time that we've had. It's been down to part of him. He's the leading light. He's the leading example. And he's allowed to have a bad couple of games. Do I wish he could get better and do better? Absolutely. But he's bound to have a bad patch of form, and when others around him aren't playing well either, which is what happened today at Spurs, and no one else really had a good game, it made matters worse that he got sent off, and I get it, but he's still our captain. Roy Keane was our captain for God knows how long, and he got sent off how many times? It's okay. It's all right. He's showing some. Yes, we lost our heads, and he shouldn't have done that. It wasn't really a red card, but other players lost their heads as well as a result of that. So yeah, it could be better. I think we have other leaders on the pitch that can be captain in the future. I think Rasmus Højlund could be a captain in the future. If he has one or two goals of 20 plus a season, he could be that leadership guy that we go to in order to get us out of the tricky games. De Ligt could be a captain in the future. If Onana's captain, I might support someone else. But Martinez could be a captain, and Iwata could be a captain in the future as well. But look, here's our captain now. Right now, there's no other viable options. He is our maestro in the midfield. We just need to show him some more love and support him. He's our guy. He's our captain. And no one else that you can name will be a better captain as of right now for this season.
I don't know. I mean, I think for me, if I were to have to pick one other person out of that lineup that we have, that we've kind of said is our best 11, I would say Martinez.
Wow.
Because he does get animated. He does go in for those challenges. He comes out and he says, "You are not doing this to me, not today." He's not going to take crap from his own players. And he can definitely galvanize people into, like, if I had him yelling and screaming at me, I'm not going to try and step and put any feet wrong. Like, he's somebody that really can do it, I think. If there were to be anybody else on the pitch that was going to do it, it would probably be him.
Yeah, maybe you're right. I just think when you give some people that responsibility, like Harry Kane changed. I keep talking about Harry Kane, but when he was a striker, when he became captain of England especially, he changed and decided to take responsibility to go deeper, like whatever it is. But I mean, sometimes the responsibility of a captain changes a person. The added responsibility on the pitch either affects them mentally or they do some things different as like they wouldn't normally do. I don't want that in Lisandro Martinez. I think we should just allow him to be him. He leads by example anyway. We have leaders on the pitch that don't need to be captain, and I think Lisandro Martinez is definitely one of those people.
If he's leading by example already, then you're making my point for me.
There's a difference between leading by example, like Yip Yap Stam, the big Dutch man, and then being a captain like Roy Keane or Bruno Fernandes. You can lead by example by not being a captain per se, right? There are other leaders on the pitch that aren't kept, but to actually carry through that team. I mean, you go and ask someone like Yap Stam, and would he rather be captain in the Champions League final? Because Roy Keane was suspended or injured, and he couldn't play. So I can't remember who was captain there, but it might have been Bex. Maybe not. Maybe it wasn't. But yeah, there are different forms of leadership. Not every leader can be a captain. Not every captain is a leader per se vocally. I don't think Martinez is vocally that leader either, and he needs to focus on everything going on in front of him rather than have to tell Marcus to get wide or Garnacho to drop deep. I don't think it quite works. But I agree with what you say. He's got the right characteristics. I just don't think he's ready for that additional responsibility on the pitch. He's got enough on his plate at the moment,
No, I mean, it all seems like, we're trying to build out of the back and do all of these things, and he's one of those people that's going to have the best vision, the best look at, where everybody's at. So in terms of coordination, I think that, he is a bit more vocal, and that he definitely can kind of provide the stability that we need. So I don't know. I mean, I could go either way. I think that I think I'm going to have to give this one to you, though. I think by the end of the season, we'll still see Bruno being the man with the armband. So
Yeah, I do. As I'll take that win gracefully. Onto your argument of Lissandro Martinez being in a position. I mean, there's no other better position. That's why goalkeepers get given a captaincy, right? Because they've got the whole pitch in front of them. Schmeichel was our captain for a long time. Van der Sar was our captain for a long time. I think Tim Howard was captain for a time as well. We like giving the goalkeeper the captaincy, but I don't have much faith in Onana at the moment. So I don't think captaincy would be the right move for him in this stage of the career at the moment. But we'll see. But hey, a win's a win for the Saffron Man. That's what I like to see. On to the third question. What we're going to do, Sporadiclese, how long will Garnacho wait? So, Garnacho is a prodigy. He's a prized asset. People want him all around the world. He's only going to get better. We're obviously not, doing too well at the moment. And even though Garnacho is part of our cult history, my question to you, Sporadiclese, how long will he wait until he wants to replicate his idol Ronaldo in Real Madrid, or go to Juventus, or go somewhere else, and actually win things on a regular basis? Because if Real Madrid come knocking, it's going to be very hard for him to say no to a pay rise, more minutes, more trophies, better weather, bigger stadium, and I don't know, man. That's my main fear, that Garnacho could. But you're against. How long would he wait? Go for it.
Well, I think if he were to go to Real Madrid, he's not going to see the minutes that he would like to. But that's not to say that there are not other clubs that would definitely want him. And I think he's somebody that should be winning trophies. I think that he's somebody that should be getting regular minutes. I mean, and in so many of the games that we've seen him play in recently, he's the person that's bringing so much energy and life into our attack. He's willing to take people on. He's had some of the best opportunities at goals. He's putting himself into the right positions. He's got the makings of, probably one of the best wingers, in his generation. I think he is that good. Last season was a breakout season for him. We finished 8th. If he has another really good season this season, and we still finish low in the table, we're not playing for Champions League football. You got to wonder whether or not he's going to want to wait past the next big transfer window in the summer. He just has too much quality to be languishing in the middle of the table in the Premier League whenever he should be winning trophies. And yeah, you can say, oh well, he's won the FA Cup. And that's great, but I don't think the FA Cup is what he aspires to win. I think he wants to win the Premier League. He wants to win in the major 5 leagues. He wants to be on those league-winning sides. He wants to be competing in Champions League finals. And right now, we're struggling to even maintain Champions League football year in, year out. And so, as much as I would hate to see him go, I would love to see him thrive. And to be able to put some of that silverware in his cabinet, but it's got to start with getting minutes, and I think he should definitely be one of the starters. He should be one of the first 11 on the team sheet regularly, and if he's not getting that regular time, I don't think he's going to want to stick around, because he's already shown that he's such a good performer for us. Even whenever we look bad as a team, he has the moments, he has the bit of inspiration that can really galvanize the rest of the team. He kind of is the attacker that is kind of leading by example. Whenever you look at everybody that's on the pitch, everybody that's involved in our offense, he's probably, him and honestly Amad Diallo, they look like 2 of our best strikers in terms of goal scoring threat, in terms of getting in behind the defense. And if all of that is just going to waste, and he's not scoring goals, he's not getting the assists, he could very well start looking elsewhere as early as next summer.
I think we all want him to stay, but I mean, we all understand the pull of a club like Real Madrid, and it's going to be, and we are in a project of transition. And I saw Garnacho walk out the stadium today with his kid. He had his Manchester United daddy shirt on, which I thought was crazy, considering, yeah, he's only a youngster himself. How old is he? Let me just click on his profile here real quick. So he's 20. So he had his little nipper there with him as well, which is pretty cool. So maybe he's bringing down roots. He's laying down roots of the area, and he wants to stay. Maybe he doesn't want to move abroad. I don't know, but I at some point Real Madrid are going to come calling. They're going to put out a record transfer offer, and it's either going to be either us to either say yes or no. But then at some point it might be down to him. So no, do you know what? That is a good price. I want to go to Real Madrid and emulate my hero Ronaldo, because that is his hero, and all he wants to do is emulate him. So we'll see. But he's not that prolific yet. To your point, I don't think he's been in the prolific positions, but I think his best takeaway so far has been like 15 goals in a season, something like that. So he needs to up his prolificness in terms of go. But in terms of how long would he wait, he might be reevaluating his situation on a season by season basis. Whether he gets an upgraded contract, or whether he gets all the minutes he wants, whether we win trophies or not, I think he's evaluating his position, as many young players do, season by season basis, and we'll have to see. Will Ten Hag still be it? Does he like Ten Hag? Would he like the new person coming in? Does he want Ten Hag to stay? Does he want to continue training with Kobe Mainoo and all the other youngsters coming through? So does that excite him? I don't know what motivates him. So yeah, I just think each season we run the risk of losing him if that previous season didn't go right. We need to make sure that he's part of the project and part of the adventure of Manchester United, to keep him entwined with what's going on. So it's going to be a tough one, but I can see a similar situation coming down the line where Real Madrid pop up with like 130, 140 mil, take it or leave it, and we end up taking it. Even though I would love to see him stay, I think sometimes money talks, and we're on a revamp right now, so money is going to change it. But yeah, what do you think, Sporadic? Do you think he's going to stay or go?
Well, I didn't hear you really arguing for him staying.
Well, it's being smart. I mean, like I said, mentioned his roots. He's got family here now, and he is getting minutes and everything else. But it's real hard to say no to Real Madrid, and we all know he loves Ronaldo. So maybe he wants the opportunity to emulate him at Real Madrid. I don't know what motivates him like that. It's my fear that the lure of Real Madrid in our situation, in their situation, and in his situation, it's just going to be too good for all pies to turn down. So that's my main worry.
If you're a backup to like a Vinicius Junior, and you're winning La Liga and you're competing for Champions League, I would say that that's definitely a step up from being behind Marcus Rashford, placing 8th in the Premier League, not even playing Champions League football. So, and if Ronaldo really is his hero and his idol, then you're there's only so long that you're going to want to wait to break out into the first team. I think a lot of his decisions are going to end up becoming like, what are we doing with Marcus Rashford? I don't think he's going to want to play second fiddle. I think Amad Diallo is somebody that we can build around on the right. If Marcus Rashford doesn't find form, then Garnacho, he might stay. But at the end of the day, I think he's going to want to win trophies, and he's going to want to be part of a winning side. And right now we're going to wait another 3.5 years until we're going to start looking to even win the Premier League based on what Omar Barada is saying.
Yeah,
and I'm kind of in agreement there that this is not an overnight thing. It's something where I think we have a good manager, and yes, things have not worked out thus far, but we have also had so many issues that we've had to tackle in terms of personnel on the pitch, in the squad, What's our rotation look like? Because we're struggling to be able to do that on a regular basis and still produce results. If anything, it looks like our second team is getting better, better results than our primary, our first team. So like maybe we look at that, but this is a time whenever Eric Ten Hag is finally going to have a better backing in terms of the management above him to be able to not have to make all of these decisions. So, and I think if Ten Hag gets his way, then Marcus Rashford stays and actually finds a bit of form. But the thing is, he's going to need that form.
Yeah.
And so it's. I don't think that if Marcus Rashford continues to perform poorly and Garnacho continues to come on as a substitute or play in a position that he doesn't want to play in as badly on a different side, then he could very well be looking to move on. So I would hate to see that. I love him as a player. I hope that he has many good years with us and that he wins a lot more trophies with us, but it's tough to say that he's gonna that he's for sure gonna do that. So
yeah, I'm gonna give that one to you. It's gonna be tough either way, whichever he decides to do, but it's gonna be his decision ultimately, which also makes me kind of both secure and a bit worried at the same time. So we'll see what happens. Yep. But let us know what you guys think down below. Obviously, for each of those three statements, we've got a colourful section there for you. Let us know in the comment section. Make sure you hit the like, the follow and subscribe. Give us a cheeky little share around as well. We're a new channel trying to get out there, so if you want to help out and send the channel into a few discords or something, that would be great. We get 100 subscribers and we start up our own discord and try and build a community around Manchester United fans. So if you want to be a part of that, then you know what to do. I've been the Saffron Man. Thanks for joining me today, Sporadiclese. You had a good time.
Yeah. I mean, it was, to your point, a good therapy session. I think we both needed to vent a little bit after a performance like that. It's best to just let it out rather than hold it in. So I hope we don't have to have too many more of these, and that we can kind of right the ship, because I'd love to see us winning more, or at least performing better. Really. Getting in and being a part of the football matches a little bit more, as opposed to the whole team looking a bit like bystanders.
Yeah, it is what it is. But really tough day against Spurs. I think we made Spurs look so good and they made us look so poor. So yeah, onwards and upwards now. You'll see me again on Tuesday. I'll be giving you the latest news and reactions, maybe a cheeky prediction to our next game. But we'll see. Yeah, thank you very much for watching. Please show your support. Hope you enjoyed it. Get active in the comments section. And we'll see you guys next time. Till then, peace.